What's going on, Summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. I'm Kangas, and today I'm talking about all the champions that counter the current meta. Wild Rift has a pretty diverse set of over 65 champs, with more coming every patch, and each of these champions have a different kit for dealing with all kinds of situations, but some of them will specifically counter the best meta champs, and that's what we're looking at today. But first, we got our question of the day. Which champion do you think would be the most popular in high school? I think the obvious choice is Seraphine, because she's got a top tier voice, and also a dope hovercraft, so she's probably bloated. But let me know your answers in the comments down below.
And before we start, I just want to let you know real quick, we actually changed our logo. I think it looks really sick, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So to start off, there's lots of overpowered picks dominating Wild Rift, so thinking about what to play against them can kind of be overwhelming. After all, how do you even begin to think about countering a champion that has been labeled pretty much broken on our ProGuides tier lists? Well, Wild Rift is all about knowing matchups. So with that said, let's get into how to counter the meta. A common pick that you'll see in the mid lane is full burst damage Janna. A good starting tip is to be a champion with more poke than this pick. Somebody capable of cutting her out like Zig, since Janna needs to get close to deal her damage. In the early game, it's a good idea to keep her at bay by hitting her when she gets close to minions. Every champion waits until the minion is at its lowest HP to farm, so just wait for her to walk up and try and take the farm and then punish her accordingly. Janna also needs to stack her passive on minions to deal as much damage as possible. So if you see her blade glowing, then you know it's time to step back because she's about to release a massive combo on you. The start of this combo always begins with the Crescent Strike, and this skill shot is a little unusual to dodge compared to other skill shots because of the specific crescent shape that it takes. It travels in an arc starting from Janna's right side and moving inwards into the middle. Because of the unique shape of this ability, it's sometimes easier to dodge her first ability by actually walking towards her. This might sound counterintuitive when playing a squishy mage like Ziggs, but if she misses the ability, then she's much less likely to engage. And that's because her third ability relies on Crescent Strike landing. There's tons of scenarios where I've had to flash her Crescent Strike just to escape her overwhelming punishment when she lands that ability. And a small side note when facing Janna is keeping track of the balls around her shield when she activates it. You want to make sure that her final ball does not hit you or any minion, or else she'll gain a colossal shield for the rest of the fight. Janna's strong, she's getting a little more popular, but if you want more analysis of the current meta, you can also check out our high elo tier list. We discuss the strongest champions and why they're strong, so it helps you better understand the game. Also, don't forget to join our Discord in the description down below. We got our next giveaway right around the corner, so you don't want to miss out. Next up on the list, a powerful pick still roaming the jungle is Jarvan IV. J4 specializes in bursting down squishies and securing kills for his teammates with his knockup and ultimate. He can either be the carry of the game or help boost his teammates easily with his tanky plays, often resulting in him throwing his body in front of damage for his allies. The Exemplar of Demacia is a mobile jungler with a huge travel range, jousting his lance over walls and other small obstacles. Try to understand the effective range of the skill when playing against him, and the relatively long cooldown of the combo itself. Just a heads up, it's around 10 seconds in the mid game. The main spectacle J4 brings to the fight is his ultimate Cataclysm. Nothing is more satisfying to a Jarvan player than trapping 5 enemy champions in a Cataclysm ult, forcing their flashes, or having them accept their horrible fate. To combat this engaging threat to the Rift, we've actually seen experienced players take Rammus to even the playing field. Rammus already builds pure armor and doesn't get burst down easily from threats like Jarvan IV, so Jarvan typically can't take him in 1v1 scenarios. The Armadillo can also CC Jarvan for several seconds with his knockup on his first ability and taunt from his third ability. Even if Jarvan does decide to ult Rammus, Rammus is perfectly capable of taking Cataclysm head on. If anything, Jarvan secures Rammus's place as a tank in a teamfight, which is exactly where he wants to be. And the Spine Eternal also has a good amount of mobility on his own. Especially once he builds Dead Man's Plate, he practically becomes Sonic the Hedgehog. This mobility of Rammus is often underestimated because his speed change throughout the game changes drastically depending on his build. On top of that, his ultimate on Wild Rift just lets him straight up jump over walls. Specifically the small walls like those of which Jarvan can summon with Cataclysm. Rammus is also just a relatively safe pick against most attack damage champions on the map. So if Jarvan decides to engage on Rammus, the Demacian is in for a rough time. With tanky stats and even tankier abilities, Rammus is a top pick to counter the meta in Wild Rift. Now focusing more on the Dragon Lion, we got a few threats to worry about on the bot side. Ezreal's been becoming a more popular pick to help escape the more invasive junglers like Kha'Zix and Rengar. He's been gaining traction because of his safe poke and instant blink ability Arcane Shift. This is such a valuable ability on his own, allowing the squishy AD carry to instantly hide behind his support or just dash under a tower. With an escape ability this effective, combined with excellent poke abilities, Ezreal has moved up to the overpowered tier for the high elo, securing his place in the meta. Like most AD carries, Ezreal still can't be taken down with an assassin when he's completely caught out, but what can he do as a fellow Dragon Laner? Well, our analyst team here at ProGuides have determined that Kaiser is the best AD carry to take on Ezreal. First up, she's got a dash built into her third ability, which helps her avoid the onslaught of missing shots that you have to dodge. And in addition, her first ability can clear waves, making it much harder for Ezreal to maneuver the way that he intends to during the game. And finally, her ultimate dashes her to the enemy, making Ezreal a piece of cake. But the biggest thing is Kaiser's wave management. This is absolutely the biggest asset to her ability to deal with Ezreal. Kaiser's first ability, Acacian Rain, rains down all over the enemy minions, potentially clearing the wave with enough damage and experience. She can execute minions and poke down her enemy laner while hiding behind her own, a key aspect to countering Ezreal's skill shots. Her second ability lets her poke from a much greater range than Ezreal, but unfortunately at 3 times the cooldown. These abilities are useful in the beginning state, but become unbearable when she evolves as a living weapon. She gains more bullets in her first ability, a 70% cooldown reduction with her second ability if you happen to build AP, which we don't necessarily recommend, and freaking invisibility with her third ability that will inevitably be acquired if you're building her correctly. Ezreal might have a great ultimate, but once the late game comes around, Kaiser just has way more options to build into and more mechanics to play around with. She can become an especially noticeable threat when paired with the right items. We asked some of our top-ranked players what to build on Kaiser, and Runaan's Hurricane is one of the strongest items on this marksman. Runaan's Hurricane increases Kaiser's wave clear exponentially and makes her passive more viable in-game, applying the stacks onto multiple targets with a single auto attack. This also grants her stronger teamfighting DPS than Ezreal, since Ezreal's kit is largely focused on a single target. Once she acquires 4 stacks on her prey, Kaiser's passive damage absolutely chunks the enemy's health, rewarding Kaiser for continuously attacking in a fight. And moving on to the Baron lane, it can be hard to coordinate ganks with the jungler, and it's just luck at this point if Mid decides to roam to your lane. And on top of that, sometimes you have to face Akali all on your own, and you have no idea what you should do. Well, there's 2 routes that you can go and face in Akali: crowd control tanks or high sustaining bruisers. Our team here at ProGuides recommends using Malphite specifically against Akali. Malphite is a super heavy tank whose crowd control can absolutely change the outcome of a teamfight. Playing Malphite against Akali means committing to farming and not overextending in the Baron lane. Malphite's first ability auto-tracks, making it a guaranteed free poke whether she shrouds herself or not. And his second ability makes him tankier and also lets him AoE auto-attack for a few seconds. With his tankiness and crowd control, Akali can't necessarily finish Malphite off easily in a fight, even if they're one-on-one. Another champion though who does well into Akali is Fiora. Fiora has the unique ability to use her first skill lunge to hit Akali while she's in her Shroud of Invisibility, massively decreasing the amount of utility of the skill. Especially since Fiora has the ability to block all damage for a split second using her second ability Riposte, she's actually capable of nullifying a carry's burst damage. But for more information on this specific matchup, be sure to check out our other Counter the Meta video for patch 2.2b, where we go a little more in depth. Now, Fiora is a great counter to Akali, but she's also super powerful on her own. So how do you counter this champ? Well, Fiora is an incredibly powerful champ whose skill cap is high, but rewards are higher. Fiora has been a staple of threat ever since the release of the game and continues to poke down bruisers and tanks alike. She's a super powerful pick for Baron lane at the moment since her kit has sustain, mobility, and damage all in a single champion's kit. With a skill to parry all crowd control effects, she kinda seems like an unbeatable monster. But she does have weaknesses that can be exploited. First off, her poke primarily relies on hitting her passive on her target, gaining the additional healing and movement speed from the vital spot. Depending on where the vital appears, maneuver around Fiora and the vital spot away from her. You can also even walk out of Fiora's effective range to just reset the vital spot position, just in case the spot appears too advantageous of a spot for her. To deal with her, we recommend that you use Gragas, who has a high health pool, a long range area of effect poke, and damage reducing second ability. Gragas' kit is great for fighting Fiora because he can take her poke and punish her for overcommitting to an engage. When Fiora dashes in with her first ability, just use Gragas' second ability, Drunken Rage, to take 10% less damage from that attack, and immediately punish her by body slamming and throwing a barrel beneath her at the same time. The key to success with this combo is to surprise Fiora so she doesn't have time to use Riposte. Once she's knocked up into the air, she won't be able to flash to escape, making the barrel an almost guaranteed hit. Another great pick against Fiora is actually Janna, but we're not saying to play Janna in the solo Baron lane no matter what anybody in our community Discord tells you. Play her as a support and lock her in if you're playing against champions that enjoy diving onto your backline. For example, if Fiora's Vital Mark lands behind your allied marksman, Janna can easily bait Fiora into an early engage and then use her ultimate to knock her back when she's behind Janna. This will push Fiora towards whatever tower or ally champions are behind Janna while giving Janna and her allies a much-deserved heal. Another weak point of Fiora's kit is her second ability, Riposte. When used correctly, yeah, she can stun tanks and cut them down, but if she misses, she's kinda just a sitting duck. Riposte is not the fastest ability in the world and has a very long cooldown, so be sure to punish Fiora every time she uses this because she will not be getting it back for at least 20 seconds early game, leaving her with only her lunge and flash to escape. And the last ability on Fiora that can be punished is her ultimate Grand Challenge. This ultimate might do 25% max health as true damage per side that she lunges at, but it also forces her to only focus one champion at a time. During this opportune time, the rest of the team should absolutely focus on Fiora to prevent her from proccing her heal after she kills a champ. This giant AoE heal scales with her attack damage, so it's vital to dispose of her before she finishes her 4-pronged strike. If Fiora activates her ultimate on you during a teamfight, try to just stay away from the enemy champions so that your death doesn't heal the enemy team, or alternatively just take her out as fast as you can.
The meta of Wild Rift is young and blossoming this spring, allowing for new champions to stand on their own and old champions to see new light. It's only a wonder what Riot will add next to the Rift, so make sure that you're subbed to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out. Also, if you like the video, leaving a thumbs up really helps us out in delivering more content. That's it for today, so best of luck on the Rift, everybody. Stay hydrated, and I'll see you next time.